Hello everyone, this is your friend SG, and this is the final part of our React Placement 2D series where we are covering different questions that are asked in an interview regarding React and JavaScript. So, in this video, we are going to cover some miscellaneous questions. And till now, we have completed the entire React, all the questions related to that. So, if you haven't watched the previous parts, you can check them out. I'll add the links to them in the description. So the very first question is, what are the different ways of styling a React application? So there could be several ways of styling a React application. The very first way is adding the inline styles. Inline styles are somewhat similar to what we used to do in HTML. So here we will add a style attribute to our JSX element and we will add all our styles inside that. Just a small difference. That particular style object that we are going to add here, it will be a JavaScript object containing all the different styles. Instead of a string, it will be a JavaScript object. Next way is style components. So style component is a third party library that could be added to a React application. Now it allows us to add these styles in a particular variable, and now that variable could be used as a separate JSX element. As all these styles are being added to a variable, so we can reuse that particular variable in different places. It makes it reusable. Second thing, as it is a variable, so we can do a lot of customizations as well to it. This is the benefit of style components. Another way is adding the normal CSS. Normal CSS, I mean, we will create a .css file and import it in our normal React application. Now, there is a drawback to this technique. So let's say we have a component X and it has two children components Y and Z. Now we are importing the styles in the component X. Now those particular styles that are imported in component X, they will affect the components Y and Z as well. This is the drawback of using the normal CSS here. So in order to overcome this, React introduces a separate technique called React CSS modules. What are CSS modules? So they are somewhat similar to the normal CSS technique, but instead of creating .css file, we will be creating .module.css file in now. So we will import this file in our JavaScript file. And the advantage of using CSS modules is that they are scoped locally. So if we import these CSS modules in the component X, they will not affect the component Y and Z. So in this way, only that particular component will be affected and the children component won't. Next question is, what is a progressive web app? So progressive web apps are the apps that are built using native languages, that is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. They could run in the browser as well, and we can install them in our smartphones as well. When we run the progressive web apps in the browser, they resemble the websites, normal websites. But when we install them in our smartphone, then they resemble the complete native apps. They also have all the features that a native app could provide us. Like they provide us offline support, they could provide us push notifications as well. So anything that we can get in a native Android or iOS app, those particular features are also provided by the progressive web apps. So while creating these progressive web apps, we will write the code once and that particular code will create the websites as well and it will create the applications as well, the Android or iOS. So this is what progressive web app is. Now the next question comes, how we can optimize the performance of our React application. So the very first technique of optimizing could be using the functional and pure components. Instead of using class components, we will use functional components. Why so? So when we have to deploy a React application, we have to create a build for that. Now when the build is being created, all the components are minified. And in the class components, when they are minified, they are comparatively larger in size as compared to functional components because they have a lot of lifecycle methods, they have a lot of extra code, they have constructor and other stuff. So that's why the bundle size of a class component increases as compared to functional component. So this is one of the technique of improving the optimization. Now, if you are not using a functional component, we are using the class components. Instead of extending them from React.component, we can extend them from React.pureComponent. Now, they will have a built-in support for should component update. And it will prevent the unnecessary renders and it will prevent the unnecessary calculations as well. So in this way, we can optimize the application's performance. Next method could be using the React fragments. So Let's consider an example that we have 5 or 6 different JSX elements and we have to combine them together. So what we will do? We will simply wrap them with a div element. Now, wrapping them with a div element will create an extra node in the JavaScript DOM. Now, if we wrap them with a React fragment instead of div, React fragment will also perform the same purpose. It will combine all the JSX elements, but it won't create any extra node on the DOM. So, next technique of optimizing the performance will be to use React Reselect. So, React Reselect is a library that memorizes the Redux selectors. What actually React Reselect is, we will see further in this video only. Another technique of improving the application's performance could be memorizing the React functions. So this could be achieved using use memo hook. So now whenever a function is called, if the values that are passed to that function are same as the previous function call, then it won't make all the calculations again. It will simply fetch the result from the cache and return that result. So in this way, this memorized function, it prevented all the unnecessary calculations and optimize the performance. Okay. So the next question is, what are error boundaries in React? So error boundaries are a React component that catch error anywhere inside the child component. One thing that we have to keep in mind here is error boundaries catch error inside the child component only. So if we are using error boundaries in component X, then it won't catch errors in component X. It will catch the errors from its child component only. Okay, so it will catch those errors, it will console them, and we could also provide a fallback UI to it. So in case if there is some error in the component, then it won't make the user experience. Instead, it will render the fallback UI. So let's consider a case that we are calling an API and we get some 400 result from that API. So now we can display the 400 page instead of breaking the user experience. Okay. One thing that we have to keep in mind is error boundaries. As for now, when I'm recording this video, error boundaries are only there for the React class components. In functional components, we don't have error boundaries. So if we have to use error boundaries, we have to use the class components only. Now, in order to make a class component use error boundaries, we have to use either of the two React hooks. First could be component catch and another could be get derived state from error. If we are using any of these React hooks, then we can say that a particular component is using the error boundaries and it will catch all the errors in its children components and render the fallback UI. So error boundaries could increase the user experience as it won't break the application at any point of time. Instead, it will render the fallback UI. So this will increase the user experience. Now the next question is, what is React Reselect? Here comes the React Reselect. So React Reselect is a React library that is used to memorize the Redux selectors. Now, what are Redux selectors? So selectors are the functions that are used to fetch the state from the store. A very common selector that we use is map state to props. This is the very common selector that we use in Redux. So memorizing these selectors prevents the unnecessary re-renders and it also saves all the unnecessary calculations that were going to be made. So now memorizing this will optimize the performance as it reduce the renders of our application. So it will reduce the application's loading time and all other stuff as well. Next question is, what are keys in React? So keys are those unique values which are added to a list. In React, if you are working with a list, then each individual element of the list needs to be identified with a particular unique ID. This ID is called as key. Now, this first thing that we have to keep in mind is this key needs to be unique for each element inside the child. Secondly, these keys are the only attributes that are used to identify whether the particular list element has modified, whether it has been changed, its value is updated, or it is deleted. So, because all these modifications they are tracked using the keys only, so we have to keep this thing in mind that each list item should have a unique key. Otherwise, if the keys are duplicate, then first thing we'll get a warning in React console. Secondly, it will be very difficult for us to track whether which particular element has changed because of the duplicate key. So always keep in mind that keys should be unique. So the next question is, explain the strict mode in React. What is strict mode? So strict mode is a developer tool that highlights the problems in the developer's code. As I said that strict mode is a developer tool. So we don't have to worry if it by mistake gets pushed in the production build as well. It won't cause any issue to the users or the consumers that are using our application. So if we have been using strict mode in a project, then while working, if there is some unnecessary code or someone inserts some code by mistake, then strict mode will give us some warnings and stating that this particular code is not needed or it is malicious. So we can remove that code and improve the code quality. This is what strict mode does. Next question is, how can we prevent re-renders in React? So in React, re-renders could be prevented using three or four different methods. First one is we could use the use memo hook. Second, we could use ref hooks, and we can also create pure components. We can also create all the classes that we are creating. They could be imported from React.pure component, or we could use should component update lifecycle method inside the classes. I'm not going into detail about any of this because we have already covered it in the previous videos for lifecycle methods and React hooks. You can go check those videos out. Okay. So with this, we complete the React Placement Ready series. We have completed all the questions. Around 80 to 100 questions were covered in this particular series. All the questions that could be asked in an interview are done here. So go check out all the videos and let me know your reviews in the comments about this. Okay.